Money is not a goods. Suppose I have a 1000 rupee. 1000 rupees is not a goods. I have a $1000. $1000 is not a goods. So any currency, Indian or foreign currency, it is not considered as a goods. Therefore, it is not a goods, so it is not a supply. When we consider as a supply, the supply should be goods and supply should be services. If the supply should be should not be goods, then we cannot say that it is a supply. Supply, whenever we say the supply should be goods or services. Anything which is neither goods or services, money or securities is not a supply. So these things you have to keep in mind. The supply should be made for a consideration. Consideration is very important term. Whenever we will talk about the supply of goods or services, consideration, why we supply, why we sell the goods, why we sell the services, why we transfer our goods. Whenever shopkeeper sell the goods, shopkeeper supply the services, restaurant owner supply the food. So these are the all services for a consideration. Consideration in the form of money. Whenever we sell the goods, we sell the services, we will receive certain amount of consideration. And supply should be made in the course of furtherance of the business. And supply should be made by taxable person. Supply should be made as a taxable person. Then we can say that it is a supply under GST. Now, taxable person means those person who are registered under GST and who are eligible for registration. So such persons are called as a taxable persons, and who are sale or purchase taxable goods, taxable services, then such person is called as a taxable person. Now, here supply should be taxable supply. Supply should be taxable supply. When we say that the taxable supply, what are the parameters of the supply? Supply should be taxable supply. Supply should be by taxable person. It should be in the furtherance of or in the course of business, and supply should be for consideration, supply of goods or services. These are the parameters are there that you should keep in mind. Here, whenever we will talk about the supply includes sale, transfer, barter, exchange, license, rental, lease, disposal. These are the all terms are terminology considered as a supply and for the consideration in the furtherance of the business. Now, whenever we will talk about the supply, supply may be goods or services. Supply of anything other than goods and services does not attract GST. Now see this particular table. Goods. Goods means every kind of movable property. What is the definition of the goods? Goods means every kind of movable property. Now here, this sofa is a movable property. Therefore, this sofa is called as a goods. Services means what? Anything other than goods. Anything other than goods. It means goods we have to keep aside, and anything we have to do that is considered as a service. Now, excludes not includes goods or service, money and securities. But goods includes auctionable claim, growing crops, grass, and things attested to or forming part of land, which are agreed to be served before supply or under a contract of supply. This is terminology, we can say that it is a goods. Now, services, activities related to the use of money, conversion of the money by cash, by any other mode from one form, currency, denomination to another for which separate consideration is charged. So these are terminology that you should keep in mind. Now, transfer means the sale, barter or exchange. It is also supply. Sometimes, what do you mean by barter? Doctor doctor provide medical consultancy to barber. Doctor provide medical consultancy to barber, and in exchange, barber cuts the doctor's hair. In exchange, barber cuts the doctor hairs. Here, medical consultancy is a supply of service by doctor, and it is a consideration for the hair cut by the barber. It is called as a barter exchange. Now, whenever we will talk about the license, lease, and rental of goods were earlier treated as a service. Earlier treated as a service, where the goods were transferred without transfer of the rights. Goods transfer without transfer of the rights, and were treated as a sales, where the goods were transferred with transfer of the right use. Under GST, lease, license, and rental of the goods or service without transfer of the rights, it covers under supply of services. So these things you should keep in mind. Whenever license we will provide it to any other persons, it is a service. It is not a goods. Sometimes we will give the lease rental of our goods or without transfer of our rights. So we can say that sometimes what happened, if you give your license for temporary purpose, you have a suppose you have a auto rickshaw and you have a license. If you provide your license to some other person, or you have the shopkeeper's license, you will provide it this license to some other person for 1 year purpose. It is a temporary purpose. It is considered as a supply of service. Now, whenever we will talk about the consideration, consideration means the payment in money. If I give any particular goods to you as a shopkeeper, you should pay the money. If I take dairy milk, the 20 rupees dairy milk, if I provide the 20 rupees dairy milk to you, so you should give that 20 rupees as a money, as a consideration. The consideration payment in money or otherwise for supply. Monetary value of any act or forbiddance for supply by recipient or other person who we can receive the money from recipient. Deposit to be considered as a payment. Sometimes if you keep the deposits, it is also considered as a payment. So excludes the subsidy given by the central or state government. Subsidy given by the central or state government, it is not considered as a consideration. Now you know that uh, government, central government give subsidy for gases, household consumption gases. they provided subsidy. Now, whatever amount of subsidy provided, it is directly deposited to the customer's account. The water subsidy provided by the central government, on that subsidy, GST is not charged by the government. There are various kinds of schemes are there and government provided subsidy. Nowadays, we have a household gas. We bring the cylinders. The cylinders, if you buy, if you take from the gas agency, the water subsidy provided by the government, it is automatically deposited by government to your account. And this particular amount, they will not charge any amount of GST. The GST subsidy is not a consideration. Subsidy is not a consideration that you should keep in mind. Now, one more terminology under supply, furtherance of the business. I will take one example. Rishabh buy a car for his personal use and after a year sell it to a car dealer. Sale of car by Rishabh to car dealer is not a supply under GST Act because supply is not made by the Rishabh in the course or furtherance of the business. It means Rishabh has brought the car. He brought the car for his personal purpose. After 1 year, he sold the car to the car dealer. Now, Rishabh is not a car dealer. He he has his own car and he does not want this particular car. Therefore, he sold the car to the car dealer. So this particular transaction, Rishabh is not a dealer. Therefore, Rishabh is in the course or furtherance of the business. And it is not a supply. It's not made by Rishabh in the course or further. This business, he's not doing the business. Rishabh ने कार विकत घेतली होती आणि ती एका वर्षात विकली, सोल्ड केली. कोणाला सोल्ड केली? कार डीलर. तर इट इज नॉट अ सप्लाय. का? कारण ऋषभ इज नॉट अ कार डीलर. त्याचा दररोजचा बिझनेस नाही. त्याला वाटलं एक वर्षानंतर मला ही कार आवडली नाही, ही कॅन सोल्ड द कार. दिस थिंग्स यू शुड कीप इन माइंड. फर्दरन्स ऑफ द बिझनेस म्हणजे काय? इट इन्क्लूड्स ट्रेड, इफ यू आर द ट्रेडर, commerce, manufacture, profession, occasion. These are all the terminology comes under furtherance of the business. Now, one more example that we will take, furtherance of the business. Ramaya, a proprietor, has received a architect services for his house from an architect located in New York at an agreed consideration for of $5,000. The import of the service by Ramaya is a supply under section 7 subsection 1 clause B. Through it is not a course of or furtherance of the business. These things you should keep in mind. Ramaya is a proprietor. He has received architect service of his house from the architect located in New York. Now, this particular service he has imported from New York. Ramaya is supply but it is not a furtherance of the business because he does not involve in that particular business. Therefore, it is not considered as a furtherance of the business. Now, one more example that you should keep in mind. XYZ and company donates old laptops to charitable school. When new laptops are purchased by the business, will qualify as a supply provided input tax rate has been availed by XYZ on such laptop. Now, here this is a particular case is a permanent transfer is there. XYZ कंपनीने जुने लॅपटॉप एका चॅरिटेबल स्कूलला डोनेट केले आणि त्यांनी काय केलं, नवीन लॅपटॉप बिझनेस साठी विकत घेतले. तर ह्याच्यामध्ये ट्रान्सफर कुठलं झालंय, परमनंट ट्रान्सफर झालंय. ते ट्रान्सफर देअर ओल्ड लॅपटॉप्स आणि त्याच्या बदल्यात त्यांनी काहीच मागितलं नाही कारण त्यांनी डोनेट केलंय. विदाउट कन्सिडरेशन आहे, विदाउट कन्सिडरेशन आहे. अशा वेळेस त्याला आपण सप्लाय म्हणता येणार नाही. परमनंट ट्रान्सफर or disposal of the business assets is not a supply. These things you have to keep in mind. One more example. A cloth retailer gives cloth from his business stock to his friend free of cost. आता कपड्याचा व्यापारी आहे, त्याने त्याच्या बिझनेस मधलं कपडे त्याच्या मित्राला फ्री मध्ये देऊन टाकले. याच्यामध्ये ट्रान्सफर झालाय, कपडे ट्रान्सफर झालाय, सप्लाय झालाय, बट इट इज अ परमनंट ट्रान्सफर. त्याच्या मोबदल्यात तो काहीच मागत नाही, तो मित्राला फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट देतोय. तर हे विदाउट कन्सिडरेशन असल्यामुळे इट विल बी कन्सिडर ॲज अ सप्लाय. त्याला आपण सप्लाय म्हणू, बट इट इज अ परमनंट सप्लाय. नाउ a dealer of an air conditioner permanently transfer an air conditioner from his stock in trade for personal use at his residence. The transaction will be construed a supply. It is a supply of permanent supply. एक लक्षात ठेवा, आता इथे एअर कंडिशनचा डीलर आहे, त्याने त्याचं एअर कंडिशन पर्सनल यूज साठी स्वतःच्या घरामध्ये यूज करण्यासाठी ते स्टॉक मधून काढून ते यूज केलं. तर इट इज अ परमनंट ट्रान्सफर असेल तर दिस परमनंट ट्रान्सफर वी कॅनॉट से दॅट इट इज अ सेल. दिस थिंग्स यू शुड कीप इन माइंड. सप्लाय बिटवीन द रिलेटेड पार्टीज और डिस्टिंक्ट पर्सन्स. सप्लाय हा दोन लोकांमध्ये झाला पाहिजे, रिलेटेड पार्टीज अँड डिस्टिंक्ट पर्सन. जर तो झाला असेल त्याला आपण फर्दरन्स ऑफ द बिझनेस म्हणू शकतो. तर तो झाला असेल तर त्याला जीएसटी लागत नाही. एक लक्षात ठेवा, परमनंट ट्रान्सफरला जीएसटी लागत नाही. परमनंट ट्रान्सफरला, कारण इट इज अ पर्सनल पर्पज. नाउ रिलेटेड पार्टीज म्हणजे काय? व्हॉट यू मीन बाय रिलेटेड पार्टीज? रिलेटेड पर्सन्स. पर्सन्स डीम टू बी रिलेटेड पर्सन्स. कुठल्या व्यक्तीला रिलेटेड पर्सन म्हणायचं? इट इन्क्लूड लीगल पर्सन. त्याला लीगल पर्सनला सुद्धा आपण म्हणू शकतो. आता रिलेटेड पर्सन्स मध्ये कोण येणार? पर्सन are officers, directors of one another's business. जो आपल्या ऑफिस मधला ऑफिसर आहे, आपल्या बिझनेस मधला ऑफिसर आहे, तो डायरेक्टर आहे, तर त्याला रिलेटेड पर्सन म्हणायचं. Such a person are legally recognized as a partner. त्या पर्सनला आपण पार्टनर म्हणून कन्सिडर केलेलं असेल. Such person are employer and employee. तो व्यक्ती आपला बॉस असू शकतो किंवा तो आपला एम्प्लॉई असू शकतो. और थर्ड पर्सन control, own or hold directly or indirectly more than 25% voting rights of the both, त्या व्यक्तीला रिलेटेड पर्सन म्हणायचं. The third person control directly or indirectly both such person together. Such person are the member of same family, or one of them is a sole agent, sole distributor, or sole concessionary of the other. त्या व्यक्तीला आपण रिलेटेड पर्सन म्हणायचं. रिलेटेड पर्सन बरोबर जे आपण ट्रान्झॅक्शन करतो ते बिझनेस ट्रान्झॅक्शन नसणार. तुमच्या ऑफिस मध्ये तुम्ही बॉस आहात आणि तुम्ही तुमचे गुड्स तुमच्या एम्प्लॉईला विकले, तर ते तिथे बिझनेस होऊ शकत नाही. इट्स नॉट अ बिझनेस. रिलेटेड पार्टीज मधला जो सप्लाय असतो तो आपण एक्झॅक्ट सप्लाय बोलू शकत नाही. नाउ डिस्टिंक्ट पर्सन्स. डिस्टिंक्ट पर्सन म्हणजे काय? मोहन, a chartered accountant, has a registered head office in Delhi. Has a registered head office in Delhi. तर मोहन चार्टर्ड अकाउंटंट आहे, त्याचं रजिस्टर्ड हेड ऑफिस कुठे आहे? दिल्लीला. He has also obtained registration in the state of Bengal in respect of his newly opened branch office. Mohan shall be treated as a distinct person in respect of the registration in Bengal and Delhi. एक लक्षात ठेवा, तुम्ही जर जीएसटी पे करत असाल प्रत्येक स्टेट मध्ये, तुम्ही जर तुमचा बिझनेस, आता मोहनचा बिझनेस चार्टर्ड अकाउंटंट म्हणून कुठे? दिल्लीला. आणि दुसरा स्टेट म्हणजे वेस्ट बेंगॉल मध्ये सुद्धा त्याने रजिस्ट्रेशन केलंय. म्हणजे दोन ठिकाणी तो रजिस्टर्ड आहे, दिल्लीला आणि बेंगॉल. त्याच्यामुळे त्या व्यक्तीला आपण काय म्हणणार? डिस्टिंक्ट पर्सन. डिस्टिंक्ट पर्सन म्हणजे जीएसटी भरण्यासाठी दोन किंवा दोन पेक्षा जास्त स्टेट मध्ये रजिस्ट्रेशन केलं असेल त्याला डिस्टिंक्ट पर्सन म्हणायचं. तर these things you should keep in mind. A person who has obtained and is required to obtain more than one registration, which whether in one state or one union territory or more than one state or union territory shall in respect of each registration be treated as a distinct person. एखादा व्यक्ती एकापेक्षा जास्त स्टेट मध्ये किंवा एकापेक्षा जास्त युनियन टेरिटरी मध्ये रजिस्टर्ड असेल फॉर जीएसटी पर्पज, तर त्या व्यक्तीला डिस्टिंक्ट पर्सन म्हणायचं. सपोज इफ यू आर डुईंग द बिझनेस इन मुंबई and you are registered in Mumbai. सेम वे तुम्ही गुजरात मध्ये सुद्धा बिझनेस करता, तिथे सुद्धा तुमच्या जीएसटीचं रजिस्ट्रेशन करून ठेवलं असेल. म्हणजे तुम्ही महाराष्ट्रामध्ये सुद्धा बिझनेस करता आणि गुजरात मध्ये सुद्धा बिझनेस करता आणि तुम्ही दोन्ही ठिकाणी रजिस्ट्रेशन केलंय, तर तुम्हाला काय म्हणणार? Distinct person. Yes, I hope you understood what you mean by distinct purpose. Yes, कळतंय तुम्हाला? Am I audible or not? Say yes or no. Am I audible? एक लक्षात ठेवा, मी जे सांगतोय ते रेकॉर्ड करून परत मी परत आपल्या ग्रुपवरती देईल. तुम्ही ते बघत राहा, कारण हे जे आपण जे स्टडी करतोय, आपण सप्लाय ह्या डेफिनेशनचं एक्सप्लेनेशन करतोय. हे आपल्याला समजलं पाहिजे, त्यामुळे परत ते व्हिडिओ लेक्चर बघा. ओके. Supply may be stock transfer or branch transfer. Now, stock transfer or branch transfer will be qualified as a supply under GST. Now, for example, Raghuveer Fabrics transfer 1,000 shirts from his factory located in Lucknow to his retail showroom in Delhi, so that the same can be sold from there. The factory and retail showroom of Ranveer Fabrics are registered in the state where they are located, although no consideration is charged, and supply of goods from factory to retail showroom constitutes as a supply. लक्षात ठेवा, रघुबीर फॅब्रिक हा त्यांनी ट्रान्सफर केलेत 1,000 शर्ट्स, आणि ते कुठे ट्रान्सफर केलेत? फॅक्टरी लोकेटेड आहे लखनौला, आणि त्यांनी ट्रान्सफर केले दिल्लीच्या शोरूम मध्ये, आणि त्यानंतर ते सोल्ड झाले. तर फॅक्टरीतून शोरूम मध्ये गेलेले जे गुड्स आहेत, तर त्याला स्टॉक ट्रान्सफर किंवा ब्रांच ट्रान्सफर म्हणायचं. दॅट वी विल कीप. ओके. चॅट बॉक्स मध्ये मी तुम्हाला अटेंडन्सची लिंक पाठवली आहे. तुम्ही अटेंडन्स भरा, त्या लिंक वरती क्लिक करा, अँड यू हॅव टू गिव्ह द अटेंडन्स. In our chat box, I provided the link of the attendance. You should click on the link and give the attendance. Now, supply of the goods or services are both between the employer and employee. आता employer, boss, employee, कामगार यांच्या दोघांमध्ये झालेले गुड्स सप्लाय, गुड्स और सप्लाय झालं असेल तर त्याला आपण टॅक्सेबल सप्लाय म्हणायचं नाही. इट्स नॉट अ टॅक्सेबल सप्लाय. Sometime if you are provided gift by employer to employee, if it is more than 50,000, then GST can be attracted. If it is less than 50,000, GST cannot be attracted. These things you should keep in mind. Then after that we will discuss afterwards. So you should keep in mind whatever we discussed today regarding the supply. आज आपण सप्लाय बद्दल जे पण डिस्कस केलं ते तुम्ही लक्षात ठेवा. मी हे जे लेक्चर आहे त्याचं परत रेकॉर्डिंग तुमच्या व्हॉट्सअपच्या ग्रुपवरती ठेवतो. तुम्ही ते परत रिपीट करा, आणि जे पण इम्पॉर्टंट वाटतं ते तुम्ही तुमच्या वहीमध्ये लिहून काढा. कारण एक्झामला ऑब्जेक्टिव्ह प्रश्न जर आले तर मी जे डिस्कस केलंय त्याच्यावरती ऑब्जेक्टिव्ह प्रश्न येऊ शकतात. Supply definition is very important, because after that we will discuss about the this particular definition is very important, because this definition समजली तरच पुढचं आपल्याला प्रॅक्टिकल प्रॉब्लेम सॉल्व करता येईल. We have a practical problem, but you should know about the theoretical part. So you should understand first the supply definition. After that, whatever rules are there, that we will discuss. मी तुम्हाला गेल्या लेक्चरला सुद्धा म्हटलं होतं, टाइम ऑफ सप्लाय, प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाय, व्हॅल्यू ऑफ सप्लाय, हे 3 चॅप्टर आपल्याला खूप महत्वाचे आहेत, and that we will discuss. तर मी ते स्टॉप करतो. तुम्ही अटेंडन्स भरलेली असेल, I hope. अटेंडन्स तुम्ही चॅट बॉक्स मध्ये आहे ती भरा आणि मला प्रोव्हाइड करा. येस, आतापर्यंत डिस्कस केलं. कोणाला डाऊट आहे का विचारू शकता तुम्ही. येस, डू यू हॅव एनी डाऊट. येस, कोणाला काय डाऊट आहे. आज आपण डिस्कस केलं सप्लाय बद्दल. सप्लाय म्हणजे काय, and that we have discussed in our offline lecture also. आपण जे ऑफलाईन लेक्चरला सुद्धा डिस्कस केलं होतं, सेम थिंग्स वी डिस्कस हियर राईट नाव. सप्लाय मीन्स व्हॉट, सप्लाय इन्क्लूड्स, सप्लाय एक्सक्लूड्स, and we have discussed some examples. So I hope you understood these things. We will move further in our next lecture. When you have next lecture, आपला लेक्चर परत कधी आहे. I think tomorrow we have 2 lectures. That time we will discuss about the place value of supply and we will study the practical problem also. Okay. कोणाला डाऊट आहे. डू यू हॅव एनी डाऊट.
हो सर.
ओके, तर मी ते स्टॉप करतो. ओके, बाय, गुड नाईट.
गुड नाईट सर.